Hey all, welcome back to 23 Minutes with Kalpo and Dawa.
Hi.
And in today's episode, we are going to discuss a book on environmental catastrophe in the subcontinent.
Yes.
The book is called The Great Smog of India by Sidharth Singh. It basically talks about the environmental catastrophe, especially taking into consideration of air apocalypse in Delhi.
Yeah.
And it also goes into considerations or taking into accounts of the environmental history, the policies, and the causes of environmental crisis in India.
Yes.
And also we're looking forward to the methods that how we can curb this air pollution, and most importantly talks about the silent government response that we have when it comes to these issues, right? And we found it extremely important to choose a book that basically talks about air pollution and environmental cataclysm in the world, because as we have seen recently, right, in this summer we have seen 3,000 fire has been ignited in the Congo rainforest, and same goes, 1 million of hectare has been burned in the Amazon.
Yeah.
And we have this wild fire across the California, and recently we have this massive flood in the Venice, and also this massive bushfires across Australia. So this is the reality, unfortunately, that we live in. So it's the time to address and talk about issues that really matter, that is the concern of our time. So as for the author, he is basically climate policy expert, and this is his very first book, and he has experience on working with institutions like Walpurgis Institute in Berlin and Frijad Nissan Institute in Oslo and Terry in New Delhi. And the book is basically a thorough and extensive research about air pollution, especially taking into account of Delhi being the capital of India, Asthama, right? And he began this book by first referring it as a silent killer.
Yeah, that's very interesting though, because in the very first pages he talks about a bomb blast that happened in 2005 in
Yeah,
Delhi,
in
right?
Delhi.
And that was apparently a terrorist act.
Yeah.
And he compares that the blast of the bomb with air pollution, and how the impact of air pollution is far larger than terrorism that India has seen.
Yeah.
So he estimates around 1 million people die every year in India.
Yeah, that's the sad
because
truth.
of air pollution, right? And the number of people that air pollution kills in a week is more than all the people who have been killed out of terrorist acts, including the three or four wars that we have had with our neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the extent, and how he says that such a huge issue is so silent.
So silent. Even the policymakers and the government response is like sadly very silent to these issues. It's because they have been treating these issues as a technological issues, right? They have never treated air pollution as a social and political problem, which they should be, because according to the Article 21 of Indian Constitution, it basically talks about right to live, which also guarantees our right to breathe clean airs. And at the same time, we have this Air Act in 1981. That basically also talks about this control and prevention of air pollution. But surprisingly and unfortunately, nobody is convicted to law when it comes, especially under the Air Act, right? So nobody is held accountable.
I mean, it's quite understandable also, because it is never an electoral issue, right?
That's right.
People are not speaking out. They're not asking our politicians to clear the air out, right?
Yeah, not at all.
And that is because when you compare the terrorism, it has one other who can be blamed for it.
That's exactly right.
So we usually blame our neighbor Pakistan
Certainly.
for all the events that happen around terrorism. And while air pollution is a common good problem,
That's right.
where there are many stakeholders responsible for air pollution that's in India, however, everyone is passing the buck.
Yeah.
So that accountability, that holding somebody responsible, somebody against which a unique institution or an industry or a person is missing in this case.
Issues of air pollution, right? It's so complex, it's so fragmented, it's so diversified that it's very difficult to understand.
Yeah.
And there's this gap of understanding which I think we couldn't like have these accountabilities, right?
Yes, but then now the issue has actually blown out of proportions, and we have seen in recent weeks Delhi experiencing a very bad, fog smog problem, and it has been now into political discussions and domain. And
Yeah, and at the same time, this is also important to stress on, because air pollution is a inequality issues, right? And it's like the poor are the one who are like most vulnerable to air pollution, especially the construction worker, the industrial workers, and the rich and the policymakers. I think they can afford to get away with air pollution by buying the latest technologies or just staying in a room, right, and moving to another city. So in that way we really have to bring panic to people, that especially the vulnerable people, the poor, that this is our concern, so you have to take this into electoral agenda or make this as a policy, because I think we cannot live without air and water, but we can live without technology advancement and development and car and all, right? So yeah, that's also a key concern. So when it comes to Ladakh, many believe that we are like originally a clean place, and many literally come away from the northern plain that, oh, this is a weekend getaway, so we are getting a fresh air. But that's not the case. The reality is so different. We are also having huge problem when it comes to waste management, and then enhancing purchasing power among the local has brought many cars and vehicular pollutions in the cities. And likewise, you can also elaborate on some.
Yeah, I think, for example, we have our share of landfills in Ladakh, which is called bomb guard, and on an average around 13,000 mineral bottles are being disposed there every day.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a number that we're looking at, and right now we have no solution for that, and we have been burning most of the waste that we generate out of construction or tourism, and that's causing a very severe air pollution issue in Leh as well, right?
Yeah. And then another factors, like contributing factors of air pollution in Leh is this vehicular pollutions, right? We have huge number of vehicles according to those assistant regional transport office. We have somewhere around 17 or 20,000 registered car, and most of them are diesel run automobiles. So I think those have a huge impact on our environment, right?
I mean, on top of that, it's not only about the number of cars.
Exactly.
We have a very thin air.
Yeah.
With a very small concentration of oxygen, and it's a no-brainer that if we fill that air with this noxious air, SOx and NOx, and carbon monoxide, the content of that air becomes dangerously noxious and acidic,
Yeah.
and the similar number of vehicles in Delhi would have had lesser impact on
That's
the
right.
quality of air, because the percentage of oxygen is more there.
That's right.
And then the second thing is, I wonder, we are people from hills, and our lung capacity is more than a person from plains.
Yeah.
And that what it essentially tells us is that we are breathing into a very thick polluted air with a very with a better efficiency. What it essentially translates to is that we're inhaling very thin particulate matters. We are breathing into very dangerous particulate of the measure of around 0.1 PM.
Yeah.
And this very subtle particles have this impact of getting into our bloodstream and messing up with our DNA and getting into our heads and causing cognitive issues as well.
Yeah.
So there have been researches done in Colombia as well as in China by Yale University, which shows that there is a direct correlation between air pollution and depleting cognitive skills. In context of Ladakh, Dawa, now we have been declared union territory and we just come directly under the central government, right?
Yeah.
And the promise is that Ladakh will get equal share of its development. Now the development that we talk about, if I see there are 3 industries which will flourish in Ladakh in the coming decade.
Okay.
First is construction, because construction or infrastructure becomes the basis of so-called development.
Yeah.
Second is mining.
Yeah.
And they talk about many other industries, but I don't think they would be really profitable, considering our the accessibility to a market. There is a huge difference in the go-to market time from Ladakh to somewhere else, because of geographic and physical conditions.
Sure.
And the third is, of course, tourism. Tourism will bloom.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in a net sense, we are looking at a development which is highly paced, and it would be an assault on the environment itself.
Yeah. That's right. And then I think environment is something that that does not discriminate anyone, right? So right now, what our government or the administration is trying to safeguard our cultures, our traditions, our language. I know it's important, but then the more important thing is environment, right? Without having clean water bodies and clean breathable air, I think there's no point of safeguarding those cultures and all this stuff.
We have already seen a rise of 3 degrees centigrade average, which the international community was trying to contain itself as a global average.
That's right.
And we have also seen, unprecedented calamities, related to environment or weather.
That's right.
For example, 2010 we saw a huge flash floods, and since then we have been experiencing, flash floods across Ladakh.
Yeah.
Which is something unknown to Ladakh.
That's right.
And then also, we have had very severe winters in 2008, I think, in Changtang, when a lot of livestock died.
Even last year also, I think in Changtang, many livestock died, and it was extremely cold as compared to even the people were complaining that how cold it was, right?
Yeah. So for example, Ladakh is at that it's at the front of climate change and its implications, and
I think that's why we really need to talk about these issues, right? Every single steps and every small steps definitely matters, and if we don't talk about it, if we don't make this as a political issues and electoral agendas, I think there won't be any better solution. So the solution should become from top down level, right?
As well as also from bottom up, with individuals taking their own share, doing on their bit of share. But then obviously, if Ladakh is a particular case for people to really ponder about, because if we go about the same model of development that we have seen across the world, it will come to our very sustenance and survival.
That's right. Yeah, and when it comes to curbing air pollution, I think we really need to focus more on imposing tax on those vehicles, right? Many country has this carbon tax. Likewise, we really need to initiate such policy so that people would not use when it's not necessary. I think another blame to put is like we have a very weak public transportations. We don't have a fixed timetables, no definitely bus stops. So like literally like being a passenger, right, every Delhi commuter, it's very difficult. It takes like sometime like half an hour to get there, especially on a hilly area. So I think in that way the government can also like it's not only about reintroducing the public transportation, but then make it more efficient, so that people might opt for public transportation rather than their private cars.
Yeah, so I mean, since we came into this new era of union territory, we have heard a lot of announcements related to industries. We've heard announcements related to airports. We've heard people talking about institutes and whatnot. Right?
Yeah.
But or maybe like the kind of funds that we are getting. But I haven't heard a single mention of environment anywhere. So while
Certainly.
our bureaucrats and politicians are or the intelligentsia of Ladakh is deciding the future of Ladakh in this new setup, I mean they need to really focus on environment first.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is like the top priority it should be given, right?
Yeah.
Without environment, I don't know like how it would be. So I think that's the takeaway, that we really need to politicize more of environment.
Yeah. I mean Ladakh, for example, Ladakh has a hill council development, and we should have one environmental councillor.
That's right, we don't have.
Chosen on environmental and ecological concerns.
Yeah. So I think that's a wrap for today's episode. I think we hope it's a huge topic to cover.
Yes.
And we still try our best to touch the all gray areas. And if you have anything that you feel that need to be done, then it's a good opportunity to raise our concern and our voice against the environmental catastrophe. And thank you for watching us.
Yes,
and Gyalpo will announce the next book for the next episode.
So guys, it's a very what shall I say, serious topic that I think we should discuss and think about. And the next book that we are talking is Forsaken Paradise by Abdul Ghani Sheikh. So he's a writer and historian from Ladakh, and he wrote a couple of fictional work, and we're very excited to really read him and discuss him.
Yeah.
So see you next time.
See you. Thank you.
Bye.